The Citadel is victorious. 45-13, Dogs with the win over North Greenville here on Citadel Gray Line from CRM Sports. We're going to walk through the win and more. Hello there, I'm Jon Rawl, and we're back here for another edition of the show that covers everything Citadel Bulldogs. If you would like to get involved with our show, our telephone number to text us, it's very simple. Just pick up your smartphone, 843-779-8496. It's right there on the screen. Don't miss it. 843-779-8496. We get together each week to look back at Citadel Bulldog sports and what's going on with the Dogs, and we do that courtesy of our great insider who's been with us now 13 years talking all things Citadel sports. He is Jeff Hartsell, and he is right here on the Gray Line.
How are you today?
Good. How about the Dogs?
How about those Dogs? Just the third time in the last 17 games, I think it is, that they managed a victory. So worth celebrating Saturday night at Johnson-Hagan Stadium.
And, Jeff, we're going to see some highlights here in a minute. This was like a blast from the past with some of the great offensive work. A long touchdown, defense almost had a pick six. It was a fun night to be at Johnson-Hagan.
It was, and for the first time, the Citadel managed to score first. For the first time in a long time, I should say. It was the second time in the last –
It hurts to talk about it. I know, Jeff.
Second time in the last 12 games that they managed to score first. And as we've discussed before, the triple option isn't really built to come from way behind.
Yeah.
So it was good on their second play of the game. They threw the long pass to Raleigh Webb, and it was good to see that play work again. Of course, that was a staple back in 2019 when Raleigh caught 30 passes and scored 10 touchdowns. They've struggled to get the ball to him since then, but it worked on the second play of the game on Saturday.
Sure did. And again, the Citadel with a tremendous win, much needed win, and that we're very, very happy about. Want to let you know here on the Citadel Gray Line, we are presented in part each week by two great sponsors, and we're looking for more here. We are brought to you in part by IPS Packaging and BigRedPalmetto.store. We're going to have a trivia question in just a few minutes, and it's got to do with the Citadel's quarterback. So hang on for that great trivia question. We want to congratulate Richard Burns as he was the winner of last week's Citadel Gray Line. And that question we asked last week, Jeff, was could you name the storm back in 2016 that caused the Bulldogs to have to relocate away from Charleston and ended up playing a game on the North Greenville campus, a victory there at NGU? The correct answer from Richard Burns, who got a $25 gift certificate to BigRedPalmetto.store, was Hurricane Matthew. Do you remember that one, Jeff?
I sure do. I remember the Lookout Lodge where the Citadel was forced to put up for, a week or so when they fled the hurricane, and, of course, the game on the campus there at Tigerville. At the time, it was the biggest crowd ever at North Greenville. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it was a big night in Tigerville.
It was a big night. And, again, congratulations to Richard Burns, who got the great $25 gift certificate to BigRedPalmetto.store. Because this, Jeff, is going to be an open week, we better go ahead and ask this week's trivia question of the $25 gift certificate, because we're going to have a little bit of a shorter show this week. Since it is an open week, we don't have to necessarily look forward to the opponent coming up here for this coming week. But, Jeff, we're going to kind of keep it more modern with our trivia question today. And our trivia question is inspired by the Citadel's number one guy. The guy really is the number one guy. It's Jalen Adams. And please don't cheat. Please don't cheat here and go look at CitadelSports.com. But our $25 BigRedPalmetto.store gift certificate will go to whoever can correctly send me the first answer of our Knob Knowledge question. Jalen Adams' daddy played professional baseball. Can you tell me which pro baseball franchise that Mr. Adams was a part of? And if you tell me that, you will get $25. I'm not going to tell you his name because y'all might Google it and try to find out where Mr. Adams played for. But Jalen from Johnson City, Tennessee, got an MLB daddy and a darn good mom and Carol too, and we'll give you the answer. Whoever can send me over that text of the correct MLB franchise of the Citadel starting quarterback where his daddy once played. Jeff, can't answer. Do you know the answer to that?
I don't, and that is not the question I thought you were going to ask about Jalen Adams.
Oh, well, what did you think I was going to ask?
Well, he played quarterback at Science Hill High School in Johnson City. Who else played quarterback at Science Hill High School?
Oh, that's so easy. Come on, Jeff.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah. Now, I've always wanted to know, Steve Spurrier is the answer. Did Steve Spurrier grow up his entire childhood in Johnson City, or did he kind of move in there at some point? Because his daddy was a preacher.
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. Yes. And I believe maybe the football stadium or playing surface there at Johnson Haygood is Johnson City, named after Steve Spurrier. Does that sound right?
I think you are correct.
At Steve Spurrier Field. In fact, that's where the ETSU Bucks played their first year or two when they kind of were resurrected a few years back.
That is correct, and they've come a long way since then. They
sure have. They've got a big game this week. They play at Bobby Bowden Field, which will be dedicated this week there at, I guess is it Siebert Stadium or something like that, where Sanford
Siebert
plays?
Stadium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're going to rename this playing surface there after their most famous alumnus, Robert Kleckler Bowden, Howard College class of 1954, I think, also known as Coach Bobby Bowden. We'll talk some SoCon before we get out of here. But again, if y'all can text me that correct MLB franchise that Mr. Adams played for, you'll get $25 courtesy of BigRedPalmetto.store. All right, let's talk about Mr. Adams. Not Mr. Adams, but Cadet Adams. And what the job he did, he looked like an old pro back there, maybe kind of like a Major League Baseball throwing those long touchdown passes.
Well, he did have a good night throwing the ball. As we said on the second play of the game, perfect time to call that play, 2nd and 1. You could sort of see it coming. Raleigh Webb was lined up tight to the formation and broke for the post and came wide open. And several times last spring, Jalen missed him on that play, but he hit him this time and kind of broke the tension there. You know, it had been a long slog between victories for the Citadel, and that kind of broke the tension, and they were able to jump on top of Division II North Greenville, who I thought would give the Citadel a tougher test. And they did to some extent. They were able to throw the ball. There's that play to Raleigh a little bit. But Citadel kind of overwhelmed them on the line of scrimmage, basically, and wore them down as the game went on. So it ended up not being a close game, 45-13, which is what the Citadel needs to do against a Division II team, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, with the writing you had at postandcourier.com, that's the website Jeff works for. He works for the Charleston Post and Courier newspaper. With some of the writing you had going in based on your Monday press conference going into this North Greenville game, you had a story up about essentially there was a lot of unanswered questions, and it all started with the top. So with all that going on, Jeff, and you writing about it, a lot of us had to wonder, is this a game here the Citadel could lose to a Division II team?
Well, it could have gone the other way, sure, easily. North Greenville was able to throw the ball a little bit. They had some receivers running open that they missed. But the Citadel answered the questions they needed to answer. I don't think Brent Thompson was satisfied with his team's performance by any means, although he was obviously happy with the win. But there's a lot that needs to get better as they head into SoCon play.
Yeah. Well, again, you had great passing, at least early in the game. Good defensive. We're looking at this almost pick six here. That should have been a pick six. And unfortunately, the turf monster, I'm not blaming the turf monster, but something happened where, boy, it was just so close.
I think he just got tackled.
Yeah, that too.
But, the secondary played better. They were able to keep most things in front of them. There was a goal line stand where they made a couple of breakups in the end zone, which was really good to see. But there also were some open receivers, and some communication problems still continued at times. that North Greenville just missed. So yeah, there's still things to work on especially as they get ready for VMI, which is going to fill the air with footballs.
Yeah, that is true. One other name I noticed in the box score that was a blast from the past, Jeff, and that would be Dr. Storch, Nathan Storch, back on the field, and he had 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, and I thought he ran the hardest of the fullbacks who got in the game, although Braden Walker, the redshirt freshman, had a 36-yard touchdown run late in the game. But Nathan did not see the field, as we noted last week. Did not start in this game, but did get in the game and definitely made an impact. So, that position remains a bit of a question mark going forward. But I think we're starting to see that Amika, Nwanze, Nathan Storch, and now maybe even Braden Walker can get involved and help carry the load at that position.
Yes, that was good. And again, we had that last touchdown in the closing minutes. Braden Walker, who's technically a sophomore in the Corps of Cadets, but a redshirt, I believe freshman is what he's listed on the roster. A River Bluff Gator getting his first touchdown as a Citadel Bulldog, and a overall good performance. What was the attitude from Brent Thompson post game?
And can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry. We had a little digital hit there.
I think he was pleased with the win and happy for the guys to have a chance to celebrate, but not satisfied with the level of performance by any means, realizing that they're going to have to keep getting better. It was a step forward, no question, from Charleston Southern, but they're going to have to keep making strides forward in order to compete in the SoCon the way they want to.
All right, we will tell you more about the game. We'll tell you more about what's going on in the Southern Conference. Right now on Gray Line, let me take a moment to tell you a little bit about our presenting sponsor. It is IPS Packaging, and IPS Packaging and Automation is a name y'all can trust. Since 1976, IPS Packaging and Automation has been providing manufacturers and e-commerce companies with the very best packaging products and automation in the industry. IPS Packaging and Automation offers a complete line of packaging products, from stretch films and 3M tapes to corrugated boxes, strapping, and equipment automation. IPS Packaging and Automation will analyze and streamline your current methods to improve your packaging process. Pick up the phone, give them a call, 800-277-7007 to learn more, or visit IPS Packaging and Automation at the website ipack.com. That's ipack.com. IPS Packaging and Automation, Fountain Inn, South Carolina. They are a proud supporter of Citadel Athletics, and we sure thank IPS Packaging for all the years that they've been working with us right here at Citadel Gray Line, and also to help the Citadel propel and march forward in a big way. So, Jeff, Citadel gets the win, improves to 1-2 now on the season, and an open date this week. What can you tell me about how Brent Thompson's team is planning out the next coming days as they get ready for the SoCon?
Well, usually your open week is a chance to get the younger guys a lot of reps in practice and work on your depth. Some coaches like to return to fundamentals a little bit, but Brent Thompson made it clear they were going to start working on VMI immediately. They're going to start on the game plan for VMI right away. Try to take advantage of the open week in that way. Of course, VMI had an open date before facing the Citadel last spring, and I think Coach Thompson felt that was an advantage for the Keydets, so he wants to try to turn the tables on VMI this spring and take back the coveted Silver Shako.
Yeah, need to have that back after losing it for now 2 straight years, and it seems like for more than a decade, because it actually was more than a decade, that the Bulldogs enjoyed having that right there at 171 Moultrie Street. But now that thing resides in beautiful Shenandoah Valley, Virginia. It's time to get it back, but that one is going to be a tough challenge, a tough ask, because VMI looks pretty darn good. They had a nice win over Cornell. I had a chance to tune in and see some of that road win for them this past week. They have reloaded, it looks like, and should be a formidable challenge. We'll talk more about the Keydets and that game coming up after the open week when we get back together next week here on Citadel Gray Line. Jeff, what are your other thoughts about what's going on with other SoCon teams right now?
Well, I thought we'd run down the league
Sure.
for a minute, and we can go in the order that the Citadel plays these guys. You mentioned VMI; they're 2-1. They beat Cornell last week. Coach Scott Wackenheim seems to have an endless supply of good quarterbacks up there. They're on their third one in the last 2 years, really. Seth Morgan was injured in the game against Cornell, and a redshirt freshman named Colin Ironside came in and did a good job leading them to victory over Cornell. And I think he'll be the quarterback that the Citadel sees. And, of course, job number one against VMI will be stopping or slowing down the wide receiver Jacob Harris, 6'4", All-American, who has been a thorn in the Bulldogs side. If I was working on Coach Brent Thompson's game plan this week, I would plan to double team Mr. Harris all over the field and make somebody else beat you because he's proven that he can.
Yes, he has. Then you got the Vanderbilt Killers next on the schedule.
That's right. East Tennessee State, right now they look like the best team in the league. Beat Vanderbilt 23-3. They're 3-0, allowing only about 7 points a game. 63 yards rushing a game. Their defense is really good. That shapes up as a really tough one for the Citadel going against that defense. Then you have Furman. They're 2-1, coming off a disappointing performance against NC State, really 45-7. I think they thought they might compete a little bit better against the Wolfpack. Offense still seems to be struggling like it did last spring, although quarterback Ham Sisson is playing at a little higher level than he did in the spring, I think. But they're not running the ball the way Furman teams traditionally do. So it'll be interesting to see what shape their offense is in when the Citadel gets to Furman. Then they play Western Carolina. Western Carolina is 0-3, but they have a new coach, Kerwin Bell. You might remember him as a Florida Gator quarterback. And he likes to throw the ball around, and they've been competitive in two of their losses to Eastern Kentucky and Samford. Pretty non-competitive when they had to go play Oklahoma.
Yeah.
76-0.
I hope they got a big paycheck for that one.
In that game. I'm sure they did. But in the games against FCS teams, they've lost by 3 and 4 points. So they've been competitive, and they're scoring some points. They have a transfer quarterback who actually came up from D2 Tusculum to Western Carolina, who's playing pretty well. He's a running and passing threat. Ran for over 100 yards against Samford and threw for 321. So he's putting up some good numbers. So Western Carolina, I think if they can find a way to slow teams down on defense, I think their offense is going to be able to score some points under Kerwin Bell. And after Western, who do they have? Mercer. Hard to tell anything about Mercer, right? They've played Point and they've played Alabama. So who knows what's going on at Mercer. That it's hard to find a team that's played two programs up the opposite extremes of college football than Mercer. Playing Point, which I don't even know what level Point is. Non-division.
What is your point, Jeff?
What is the point of playing Point? I've always asked that question.
Do you know where they're located? Because I do.
I think they're in Georgia.
They're in LaGrange, Georgia, but they're just down the road from West Point, Georgia, West Point, Georgia, trying to teach you a little geography here, y'all. It is technically on the west side of the Chattahoochee. It's essentially in Alabama, but it's technically still in Georgia. It's kind of weird in case you ever see it on the map.
We have
West
Point
Point,
and
Georgia.
West Point.
Sorry?
Point and West Point. You have Point and West Point.
That's right.
Is that kind of like Pelzer and West Pelzer?
That's right. So if you hear somebody from Alabama saying they're going to West Point, they may not be talking about the United States Military Academy. They might be talking about that town right on the Chattahoochee River.
We're talking about the Walmart in West Point. So it's hard to tell anything about Mercer. The teams they played. So we'll skip past them for now. Samford is 2-1. Their loss was to UT Martin. They're throwing the ball around just like they always do under Chris Hatcher. But their quarterback, Liam Welch, threw 4 interceptions against Western Carolina. And that's the reason that game was as close as it was. So when you throw the ball as much as Samford does, things like that can happen. So Citadel fans will have to root for a day like that for Liam Welch when the Citadel plays Sanford. If you remember last year's game, that was the game Jalen Adams missed, and it was not pretty. I don't remember the score off the top of my head, but it was a lot to not very many.
All I know is when the Citadel and Sanford get together, it is usually a wild affair. I remember 2 games in the last 4 years that I kind of thought the game was over, time to go on, move on with your life. One game was in Homewood. The Citadel had a commanding lead late in the game. That thing, I think, went into, 3 overtimes and was a loss. And then I think that maybe the year before that, a home game at Johnson Haygood, Sanford was just killing the Citadel. And I did a bad thing, Jeff. I have to confess. I left. I left in the third quarter, and I went out to the parking lot. And before you know it, maybe it was me causing a curse. The Citadel roared back and got a victory.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the Cam Jackson game.
That was the Brandon Rainey game. That was a game where he had just kind of started taking over at quarterback.
Okay. And then, you mentioned the wild games. There was the Cam Jackson game.
That was 2016. That helped lead to that was a Southern Conference winning game for the Citadel.
Right, when Cam had a great run late in the game, and then Sanford doinked their field goal off the upright there at Johnson Haygood. So they have had some wild games in that series. After Sanford comes Wofford. What an intriguing team Wofford is. 1-1, and they lost to Kennesaw State 31-10 last week. Wofford rushed for 67 yards and gave up 343 to Kennesaw State. That is not the Wofford that we've come to know over the years. And I think, Coach Josh Conklin is trying to evolve their offense, but it looks like it's devolving to me.
Who did Wofford beat?
Who did they beat? I can't even remember.
Okay.
But I think they beat Elon. Yeah, Elon, 26-23 in the first game. Win. So, longtime offensive coordinator Wade Lang retired this year. So I think they've abandoned all pretenses of being a triple option team. They've hired a run pass option type coordinator from Western Carolina and are trying to develop the offense in that direction. I guess there's going to be growing pains, but that's ugly. 63.
Yeah. Maybe puts things at Johnson Haygood in perspective. I know some of us have been pretty critical of what we've seen out of the Citadel's offense. My goodness, we know what Wofford's done since the Mike Ayers era began, and this is not Wofford.
Yeah, 67 rushing yards. And, things have to change. You can't stay the same from year to year. You have to evolve in some way, but I think they've abandoned the foundation that Mike Ayers and Wade Lang laid over many, many years. And, that's the direction they've chosen to go, and we'll see if they can get where they want to go doing it this way. But right now they're having some growing pains for sure. And then finally, Chattanooga in the season finale. Chattanooga's 1-2 this year, but they lost to Austin Peay, which is a pretty good FCS team, and they gave Kentucky a really good run for their money last weekend, losing I think it was 28-23. Chattanooga's changed quarterbacks already, going with Cole Copeland. So they've had some struggles on offense, but running back Aleem Ford, who is from Florence, is off to a really good start, and the Mocs have a very good defense. So I'm sure their offense will get better as the season progresses, and that will be the season finale for the Citadel.
All right, excellent report there from Jeff Hartsell, again breaking down the Citadel's forthcoming opponents. Open week this week, then it's all SoCon going forward. Want to remind you, let me check the inbox over here. I don't think we have had a correct guess come in, so I won't say phone lines are open, but text lines are open right here at Citadel Gray Line in terms of our Knob Knowledge question. So let me remind you that our Knob Knowledge question is presented in part, and I'm going to show you some goodies from BigRedPalmetto.store here in a moment. But our Knob Knowledge question, if you can tell me the correct answer to this, we'll send you a $25 gift certificate to bigredpalmetto.store. All you have to do is text your answer to 843-779-8496. And this is a pretty easy question because you normally, that's the key word there, normally would have a 1 in 30 chance of getting this correct by texting the correct answer to 843-779-8496. But there's a little bit of a trick here with this week's trivia question. And that trivia question is, the Citadel's number one quarterback, QB1, Jalen Adams, is the son of a former Major League Baseball player. Can you name which MLB franchise Mr. Adams played for? And if you can correctly give us that answer, just text it, 843-779-8496. Where did Jalen Adams' daddy get a paycheck for playing pro baseball? Which franchise? 843-779-8496. And we are just thirsting for your answer here at the Citadel Gray Line. And speaking of thirst, Jeff, if you are a lucky person to win that $25 gift certificate at bigredpalmetto.store, you have the option of going to their website, using that certificate to get all kinds of goodies. Hundreds of Citadel branded goodies are right there at bigredpalmetto.store. And I got a few right here that I'm going to show off for just a second, as these are really, really nice cups with Citadel logos. There's one, got the tartan background, got 2nd Battalion PT Barracks on that particular one. And these are just some of many. Oh, I forgot to show you Spike. Never want to leave out Spike. Spike, whoop, there we go. Spike's on this one. Then they got a whole nother one. This is I'll show you the inside of one of these bad boys. Perfect for your coffee or tea or whatever beverage you got. Really nice, insulated on these great drinks. And you can get them customized too. And what I mean by that is, of course, here's your tartan cup. But you can choose, for example, your class. And there's a nice, beautiful 93 there that yours truly gets to drink out of on a regular basis. So great. These are just great items, lots of great items at bigredpalmetto.store. Go there, and again, text that answer, and it is so easy for you to do it. 843-779-8496 of where Jalen Adams' daddy played a little pro ball before he got into the whole fatherhood thing and started raising, instead of fastballs at 100 miles an hour or whatever he was position he had there, he was raising a son that would be throwing those fastballs out on the gridiron of Sansom Field. Jeff, let's talk about other Citadel news and notes before we get out of here.
Okay, do you have any?
No, do you? That's why we have you.
Let's see. The basketball schedule came out. They're playing Duke and Pitt. They're two big non-conference games. I think we covered that. Fletcher A.B., who entered the transfer portal, the guard from the basketball team, still has not announced a new destination yet, as far as I know. And the soccer and volleyball teams continue their good starts to the season. It'll be quite interesting to see if they can make it into the SoCon postseason this year.
All right. And again, Jeff will be all over it. Whatever the results are, whatever the scoop going on, he will be all over it. Jeff, we wanted to ask you, this is something, again, that's happened right as the season started, and that was Javante Middleton, that case there. Have you any updates in the last couple of days on that case?
There are no updates at all. He still remains suspended from the school. And from the football team, and there's been no further steps in his legal case that I can find out about anyway.
All right, and let me double check the roster. If you go to citadelsports.com, the current roster does not have him listed, as they have Brian Horn now listed at 0.
Yes. So, not to be confused, Brian Horn will be wearing number 0 the rest of the season as the team's military captain.
Gotcha. All right, Jeff, because this is an open week, we can take a little bit of a breath here and maybe do a little house cleaning. I have the opportunity to tell people that hopefully here in the next couple of shows, we're going to have a very special guest come on. I put in the request, fingers crossed, he'll be able to work it out on his schedule, but we're going to be talking to a national champion as we put in a request to talk to 1992 alumnus Chris Lemonis, head coach of the Mississippi State Bulldogs and a great player for Chowport and Fred Jordan in the 1990s. So we hope we can get him on, talk a little baseball, congratulate him. That's going to be a lot of fun to catch up with him. And Jeff, just publicly here, we've been doing this a long time. We've done over 250 episodes. If I needed to sit here and grab a piece of paper and a pen, who is Jeff Hartsell's wish list? We want to make your dreams come true. Who would you like to see us try to interview, Jeff?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Harvey Schiller would be a good interview, a Citadel grad who's done a little bit of everything in his career.
And we did interview him early on, but it was only on telephone. But, so some of our interviews we've done great interviews with Stump Mitchell before on the telephone. I'd love to get him on, talk about his beard. Harvey Schiller, you mentioned him, a great, 1960 class member who went on at one time to be the head of the Olympics in Atlanta, and at one time was the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. And that would be a great interview. And these don't have to be athletic people. I wouldn't mind putting in pardon me?
I think Morris Robinson would be a great interview as well.
I don't think we've had him, but sadly, Jeff, we've been doing so many of these shows. I have to sometimes really have to think about who the heck we have had on here. But he would be good.
He would be, and of course, Andre Roberts. He's hard to get a hold of.
Yeah,
but
I've tried to. We had him on a long time ago, radio only, not necessarily something visual. But I would like to get him on. I need to see when the Houston Texans have an off week. They will have a little extra time. They are the Thursday game against the Carolina Panthers this week, so probably should have gone ahead and put in that request. But yeah, it would be good to catch up with Andre Roberts. I guess we haven't had D. Delaney. He would be somebody worth having on here.
He would be. What a great story D has been playing for the Tampa Bay Bucks. Teammates with Tom Brady and Gronk. How about that? What a trio that is. D. Delaney, Tom Brady, and Gronk. Can you imagine them going out for dinner?
I'm sure they have. Of course, I understand Tom Brady doesn't eat bread, so probably his dinners aren't so yummy.
Whatever he's doing, he should keep doing. 44 years old. Are you kidding me?
All right, no more bread for me. No more donuts.
Yeah.
And again,
what a great story.
We don't just have to do athletic figures here. If you're okay with it, maybe sometime, just because she is a fairly historic person, if she's got time, Nancy Mace might be a good interview on here, or Petra, whatever her name was, the other first female, or who else we got out in Citadel world. There's a lot, and that's why this show, as small as our school is compared to most, we've done a pretty darn good job of pumping out great people throughout history, and we want to brag on it. In fact, let me go ahead and brag right now. This is something off the athletic fields. The Citadel, once again, your number 1 public college in the Southeast. U.S. News and World Report's rankings recently came out, and the school, academically, right back there at that top spot. I think it's the number 2, only behind Rollins College for colleges in the entire South. So that's something I will have to say that is more important than being number 1 on the football field. And that's tough to say, Jeff.
Well, yes, it is more important. We'll just leave it at that.
So anyway, hey, fans, if you've got suggestions, sometimes we would like to talk to people, but we may not have the best connection. We may not have the best number. We tried to talk to, was it Anthony Johnson, the hero of the 1990 baseball team? that slid in and gave the Citadel a win at the 1990 World
Anthony
Series.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to get him last year and couldn't get an active number. So
I can get Anthony's number.
Yeah, well, let me know it.
Okay.
And this asking of you goes out to everybody who's watching. We have thousands of people watch this show each week. We really do. And I want to thank all of you for doing that. But if y'all have a good suggestion, again, all you got to do, and I'll put it right up here on the screen again, that text number, 843-779-8496. We can take text all the time. Just text me a good possible interview. Email me. You can email the show, citadel@yall.com, citadel@yall.com. And again, we'll do a good job. In fact, we have a history, Jeff, of having pretty good guests on here that a guy named Jeff Hartsell takes and turns that into a really even better feature in the Post and Courier.
That has occurred in the past, and I like it when that happens.
Yeah, I do too. So anyway, thank y'all so much. We do not have a correct trivia question, so I'm going to have to let the cat out of the bag. And I miss this team, Jeff. Jalen Adams' father was once a Major League Baseball player, and let me pull up his actual name so we can give him plenty of love. Gary Adams. Jalen's parents are Gary and Carol Adams, and Gary Adams once played for the Montreal Expos.
Very good.
And I miss the Spos.
I do too.
Yes. Miss those uniforms. Jeff, thank you very much. We will be back here with you next week getting ready for the Silver Shako battle.
The coveted Silver Shako on the line again. Citadel needs to bring that home.
They do, and we're going to help them try to bring it home if we could all help it. Thanks again, Jeff Hartsell.
Thank you, John.
All right, and we will be right back here again next week with more of the show that covers all things Citadel Bulldogs. Thanks for tuning in.